Well, I made a petty criticisms of George Harrison recording, so why don't I just go down the line and tackle each one of them one by one. Who should I tackle next? Let's say Ringo. Petty criticisms of Ringo. Well, you know, most criticisms that people do make about Ringo are pretty petty. And I actually have more criticisms of the people that criticize, of the pettiness of people who tend to criticize Ringo and say, "Oh, he was a lousy drummer. He was a fine drummer. He was, and possibly the greatest drummer." But some people are incapable of seeing that. People have different standards and different perceptions, and sometimes somebody can be great, but certain other people are incapable of understanding the level on which they are great, and I think that may apply to Ringo Starr. I think it's weird. Okay, I think it's a little weird that his wife of the last 30 years has been calls him Richie, when everyone in the world calls him Ringo, and she decides to call him Richie. I don't think anybody called him Richie before he got married at the age of 40. Suddenly he's Richie. That's a little weird. What else did I want to say about Ringo? I guess, people's criticisms of his voice are fairly petty, and yet at the same time there's something a little bit weird about it. It is kind of like, his voice is kind of like a stone being thrown into a lake, and it just goes plunk. But that's part of what's endearing about it too, I guess. I mean, you're familiar with Yellow Submarine and I get by with a little help from my friends, and it's certainly a better voice than Joe Cocker. What would you do? I can't believe that somebody who sounds like that can actually have a career as a singer, but half of our so-called singers are like that. Rod Stewart, Joe Cocker, a bunch of them. And then what is it with the fucking Robin Gibb? No, or is it Barry Gibb? Barry Gibb. Is that Bee Gee? He's like the one that looks the most. He's got the most hair, and he's got nice teeth, and he goes. Why does he do that? Why? Seriously, why does he do that? Is it a joke? Because I saw him doing it in a clip of them performing on stage, the three Bee Gees, and he went, and he was smiling while he's doing it. It's like he knew the audience, because the audience went in uproar every time he went, and it's like he knew, I'm just doing this gimmick that gets people to applaud, so I'll do it. But it's like a joke. It really is like a joke. Why? And you ask, why does a joke like that even start? Did he just happen to do it by accident at one point, and then people applauded, and he decided to make it part of his act? That could be a logical explanation. Otherwise, it's just fucking weird. Similarly, I thought Michael Jackson's mannerisms, vocal mannerisms, were extremely fucking weird. What was it? What the hell are you choking on, a fucking fur ball? That's what Michael Jackson makes me think of, a very mangy cat choking on a fur ball. And then he goes, hoo, hoo. You know who does that? My 3-year-old downstairs neighbors, or maybe she's 4 by now. She runs around every day going, hoo, hoo, like she thinks she's singing or something. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Like that to her at the age of 4, that's her idea of singing. She just goes around doing this all day, every day. I can't, if I were her father, I'd go nuts. I'd say, please, for God's sake, please stop that. And that's what she does. That it reminds me of Michael Jackson. That's the fucking Michael Jackson, sounding like a fucking 4-year-old child running around going, hoo! and then he does the mangy cat furball thing. I really seriously didn't understand this thing about Michael Jackson, except that in a sense I felt Michael Jackson was very much equivalent in the pop culture world. I felt that Michael Jackson was very much the equivalent of what Obama is in the political world, or vice versa, that Obama is very much equivalent in politics to what Michael Jackson was in music. that people feel obligated to say, oh, they think he's so great, he's so wonderful, because they think if they say anything critical of him, they're going to be accused of being racist. So if you said anything critical of Michael Jackson, people would look at you, and some of them would actually say, "What? You don't like black people?" I said, I had a criticism of Michael Jackson, one particular person, but because he's black, if I say that, "What? You don't like, you are racist because you don't like Michael Jackson," as if Michael Jackson was all black people. And there is a problem with people setting themselves up as being representatives of an entire demographic. Okay, so you've got one person is, if you don't like Ellen DeGeneres, then, or if you don't like Elton John, then you're prejudiced against all homosexuals. If you don't like Michael Jackson or Obama, you're a horrible racist against all black people. If you don't like Hillary Clinton, then you're a horrible sexist, and you are a woman. You're a misogynist because you don't like one particular woman. And that this is what we have in our society, that we set up individuals as being representatives. That's the society. We have a representative society. We say, this is, you elect your leaders and they represent you. They are icons. We have icons in our society, and it's like, what is it like? I'm thinking of like little statuettes, and I can't think of what I was thinking, but it was like, the only thing I can think of is the word icon. It's like little clay statuettes. If we have little clay statuettes, and almost kind of like zodiac symbols, we have symbolic people, and we say, okay, well, this is your symbol. This is so and so is the god of this or that. So Venus is the god of love. So anybody, I don't know. This isn't a very clear thought, and it's something I'd probably have to think about. But we have people that are. Oh, I know what the word is. Oh shit! See, there I am trying to dig through. Is it icon? Oh damn! It's like the word icon. We have people who are. What is the word? Maybe, do you know the word? Shout it at your computer, and maybe I'll hear it. Or write it in the comments. What is the word for something that's representative, like an eye? Yeah, it's gone again. I can't find it again. It's like trying to think of things is often like trying to go through a button box and find a particular button, and it's right there in front of you. You know it's there, but there's 1,000 other buttons that you have to sift through to find it, and it could take you weeks. An icon, a little figurine, a figurine is getting close. A figurine, icon, avatar. Oh, it's a word like that. That means something that represents, or a character that's considered to represent all. Shit. I hope I'll think about it later. There is a specific word, and I'm not getting near it to it. And so anyway, we were talking about Ringo Starr. So what else do I have to say about Ringo? Nothing really. Not really anything, I guess. Ringo is Ringo. I wonder if Pete Best had continued as one of the Beatles. And if Pete Best had continued as one of the Beatles, most of us would almost certainly never have heard of Ringo Starr or Richard Starkey. Never heard of him. He'd be just an ordinary person just like me and you. Just some 70-year-old guy that looks like an ordinary guy that you would certainly never think of as a potential, ever having a potential of a career as a singer. If you heard him singing in a karaoke, you'd think this guy is as ordinary as any other slob off the street. Now, there's interesting vocal characteristics. That's another interesting topic, though, to me. To me, it's interesting. The way in which certain people, for instance, Barry Gibb. Now, Barry Gibb gets up on stage and he goes, and people recognize it and they applaud, because millions of people recognize that vocal characteristic, which is very much unique to himself. Not that many other people couldn't do it, but almost nobody would do it. Why would anybody having a career as a singer go up there and go and think that they weren't going to be like yanked off the stage with the hook, as you know, the Gong Show? And yet this guy managed to do this, and this made it a trademark. It's a vocal trademark. So that makes me wonder. I think about things about vocal trademarks. This is how it is with singers. We recognize their vocal characteristics and sometimes vocal unique, what's that word? Not anachronisms. Another time we're trying to remember a word that I can't remember. The unique vocal thingies, whatever the word is, that people do, that you make them specifically identifiable. And it makes you wonder that, you know, depending on whether such and such depending on the fact that one person decides that he wants to make a career as a singer, or she wants to make a career as a singer, suddenly these unique vocal trademarks get imprinted on our collective consciousness, and something that was just one individual person that ordinarily we wouldn't pay any attention to, we say that's a little bit weird, suddenly becomes imprinted on us collectively by hundreds of millions of us, all learn to recognize this one vocal quirk. Vocal quirk. And that's peculiar to me. My mind dwells on this thought of how, what are the vocal characteristics that, oh, damn it, there's that word, it's almost there. It's like icon, it's like, what is that word? I can't think of it. But it's like quirks, gimmicks, vocal, specific personality, imprint. And it gets imprinted, and it makes you wonder, or even just basically, not even just quirks, but just the voice itself. Like, for instance, Rod Stewart. You recognize Rod Stewart's voice, but you think, why in a perfect world, or why in an ultimate world of art, would we ever select Rod Stewart's voice as a voice to be imprinted on our minds? Or Joe Cocker, or Janis Joplin. Come on, come on. You know, Janis Joplin practically sounds like Marge Simpson. My special little guy. How's my special little guy? See, we have Marge Simpson's voice imprinted on us, in our minds, but that makes sense because her voice is meant to represent a cartoon character for the sake of comedy. And you want to have a peculiar, for cartoon characters, you want to have peculiar, unique voices like that. But for a singer, for a public performer of pop music, to have a really weird voice, like why? I mean, no, anybody could have gone coughing up furballs, but nobody would have. But for some reason, Michael Jackson decides, I'm going to put this on my records. I'm going to make records, and I'm going to go. The people, millions and millions of people are going to buy these records and listen to me going. And the Bee Gees say, we're going to make records, and we're going to go. And millions of people are going to listen to it and pay money to hear it. And then get so used to it that they will give a standing ovation every time they go to a concert, and you do it. And that's a little bit weird. Like, what other kind of... Well, Buddy Holly used to do the hiccup thing. How did that go? Oh, Peggy Sue. Peggy Sue. So it's kind of... that's undoubtedly one of the worst Buddy Holly impressions you've ever heard. Peggy Sue, pretty Peg, oh Peggy, my Peggy Sue. So that's kind of weird. That's kind of like a precursor to Michael Jackson. Buddy Holly imprinted this peculiar vocal thing in our minds. It's kind of weird. So this is weird. I mean, I'm sure you could come up with dozens of different people that had vocal quirks that have become impressed upon our mind. I don't know. I'm not even going anywhere with this. It's just a thought that comes through to my head. And that's way, that's about, this shouldn't even be public, but we'll see.